Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Bibliophila, where I discuss books that inspire us, enrich our minds and broaden our mental horizon. Let's begin today's episode with a review of yet another book. Today, I'll be talking about a book, The Prince and the Pauper by Mark Twain. First published in 1881, The Prince and the Pauper is a specimen of historical fiction which follows two boys born on the same day and identical in appearance. Tom Canty, who lives with his ruffian father in Offal Court of Pudding Lane in London, and Edward VI of England, son of King Henry VIII of England. Since society is a product of historical circumstances, this book explains the 16th century England by comparing the lives of the aristocrats and the downtrodden. It also describes the ignorance of the king and his men as regards the condition of the common people. Poor Tom lived with his parents, grandmother and sisters, all of whom considered him to be an unwanted burden if not completely worthless. His father and grandmother were terrible alcoholics. Every night they got drunk, quarreled, abused and even bet up Tom's mother. Tom was sent out to beg every day, and on most occasions he only got bullied by strangers all day without being able to get any money at all. He returned home at night miserable and tired, only to get beaten up by his father and thrown to bed with only a few scraps of food. What helped him through all this misery was his vivid imagination. There lived a retired minister by the name of Father Andrew in Offal Court, who taught Tom the right ways of life, how to read and write, and above all, told him stories of giants and dwarfs, fairies, enchanted castles, gorgeous kings, princes, etc. His head grew to be full of these wonderful things, and many a night as he lay in the dark on his scant and offensive straw, tired, hungry, and smarting from a thrashing, he unleashed his imagination and soon forgot his aches and pains in delicious picturings to himself of the charmed life of a petted prince in a regal palace. One desire came in time to haunt him day and night. It was to see a real prince with his own eyes. He spoke of it once to some of his Offal Court comrades, but they jeered him and scoffed him so unmercifully that he was glad to keep his dream to himself after that. This dream slowly grew an obsession, and one day it came true. Tom was wandering around the Temple Bar in the city when he fell into his imagination. Not knowing where he was going, he wandered out of the walls of the city of London. Presently he came in front of Westminster. He half expected to see his dream prince within its gilded walls. Dressed in rags, he walked timidly past the sentinels when all at once he saw a boy, brown and tanned, dressed in silk and satin, sparkling with jewels, with a little jewelled sword and dagger at his hip, standing within the door surrounded by servants. Tom buzzed with excitement, and his only desperate desire in the world was to get a closer look at the prince. As he was about to walk past the gates, the sentinels rudely snatched him away and sent him spinning into the crowd, who laughed and jeered at him. But the young prince ran up to the gate and cried with indignation, "How darest thou use a poor lad like that? How darest thou use the king, my father's meanest subject so? Open the gates and let him in." You should have seen that fickle crowd snatch off their hats then. You should have heard them cheer and shout, "Long live the Prince of Wales." The soldiers presented arms with their halberds, opened the gates and presented again as the little Prince of Poverty passed in his fluttering rags to join hands with the Prince of Limitless Plenty. Edward Tudor said, "Thou lookest tired and hungry. Thou hast been treated ill. Come with me." He inquired about Tom's life, family, friends, play and education at Offal Court. He even talked about his own life at the palace with the Lady Elizabeth I, who would later become the Queen of Britain, and Lady Mary, who would also become the Queen. To get a taste of each other's lives, Prince Edward had this idea of exchanging clothes with Tom. When they looked at the mirror, they looked indistinguishable. Then the prince ran away to attend to some business, and Tom was left to stare at the jewels in the room. When Prince Edward approached the sentinels, they mistook him for Tom, since he looked identical with the beggar, and threw him into the street. Thus began their exchanged lives. As for Tom, he was worried by the prince's delay and tried to walk into the antechamber, but when 6 soldiers sprang up to their feet and bowed low before him, he ran away with fright. He did not know what was happening with him. Presently, the Lady Jane Grey came in to talk to him. She also mistook him for Prince Edward, and when Tom told her that he was nothing but a beggar, she ran away with terror. Soon word spread throughout the castle that the prince had gone mad. When the king heard about this, he instructed his men to let his son free from study and not spread a word about his sanity. The king appointed the Earl of Hertford to look after the prince and save him from embarrassing situations, since the prince seemed not to know any royal norms. The servants in the palace tried in every way to help their prince, who was in the habit of running away from them. Poor Tom walked into royal processions, attended royal balls and dinners, not knowing what he was doing. He constantly claimed himself to be a beggar and not the heir apparent to the English throne. As for the actual prince, he was laughed at by strangers when he claimed that he was the Prince of Wales. He was tortured and beaten by Tom's father and grandmother when he said that King Henry VIII was his father. One day, when the Canty family was running away from the police because of robbery, the prince made his escape. Wandering about for some time, he met Miles Handon, a soldier and nobleman returning from war. Though this man did not believe a word of the prince's tale, he volunteered to help him in every way he could so that the prince could regain his position in the palace. Word reached them that King Henry VIII was dead and Edward VI was about to be crowned king. After a series of adventures, Prince Edward interrupted the coronation as Tom was about to be crowned the king. Nobles were shocked at their resemblance and refused to believe that their positions had been swapped until Prince Edward produced the Great Seal of England, which had been given to him prior to his leaving the castle. Edward VI was crowned King Edward VI of England. Miles was made an earl and given the family right to sit in presence of the king. Tom was named the king's ward, a position he held until his death. The book explains that since Edward VI experienced the life of the downtrodden in the society and faced inequality, abuse and torture, he vowed to rule with mercy and justice throughout his life. He also experienced the harshness of the English judicial system, which flogged, hanged and burnt common men for petty offences. Mark Twain felt that although King Edward VI died at the age of 15, he ruled with mercy and justice throughout his life. Tom is portrayed to be a humble character. At the end of the novel, both the boys find the king within themselves. Edward, king by virtue of his birth, and Tom, king by his love of justice, modest character and common sense, which are after all the most essential qualities that a king should have. I sincerely hope that you have liked this analysis of the book The Prince and the Pauper by Mark Twain. If you have, please do not forget to like, share, comment and subscribe. I have provided the links of my previous videos in the description below so that you may watch them. I'll be back again with an analysis of yet another book. Till then, happy reading.